A book that we at MoMA all love very much. The Stavros Niarchos Cultural Center, the new center in Athens, which includes the new National Library and the new National Opera, buildings designed by Renzo Piano, is really a wonderful gift to Greece and to the world. And about 10 years ago, at the beginning of the development of the site, the foundation had the foresight to engage the photographer Yiorgis Yerolymbos, who for most of the last 10 years has spent his time hanging off the tops of gigantically large cranes and befriending, I think, every single, and earning the respect of every single construction worker on the site. And at the end of this period, it resulted in an astounding body of work, some of which you will see in the book that is now being published. There are, I think, 6 people associated with the project who are each going to say just a few words about the project. So I will point them out to you. First of all, we have Sarah Needham from the foundation. Then we have, and I hope she hasn't strayed too far, we have Annie Ragia, the publisher at Melissa Books in Athens, who really conceived of the project and have published it in Greece. We also have the director of Yale University Press, John Donatich, who are the American co-publisher and distributor of the book. We have the 2 distinguished authors of the essay in the book, Robert Storr and Catherine Storr. And finally, we have the maestro himself, Yiorgis Yerolymbos. So with those introductions, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm Sarah Needham. I'm a program officer with the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And on behalf of all of my colleagues here tonight, we are thrilled to celebrate Orthographs by Yiorgis Yerolymbos here at the Museum of Modern Art. The foundation is in its 20th anniversary and continues to make grants in 4 program areas: arts and culture, education, health and sports, and social welfare. The Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center is the foundation's largest grant and, of course, a major point of pride. Mr. Yerolymbos, from the birth of the idea in 2007, has been the foundation's eyes on the construction site. And earlier tonight I learned on Monday it's his 10th anniversary from when he first set foot on the site. His photographs, as witnessed in the beautifully published book, tell the story of the construction and the people who physically built the center. Each of Mr. Yerolymbos' photographs captures and preserves an isolated moment in the life of the construction site of the SNFCC. Viewed individually, the photographs are formally striking, but their meaning is somewhat inscrutable, since the viewer, unlike the photographer, has no sense of their specific spatial or temporal context. His unique perspective highlights the work of all those involved with the project and captured the process for the foundation. We would like to think, and just earlier today I was talking to some colleagues who said, when they weren't able to be in Athens overseeing the site, it was really these photographs that sent to New York and around the world kind of the story of what was taking place. So we send a huge thank you for recording the history of these past 10 years. We'd also like to thank the 2 publishing houses for bringing the project to fruition. Thank you to Rob and Catherine Storr for contributing their voice. And many thanks to MoMA for hosting. The foundation has been a proud long-time supporter of MoMA through the year-long internship program, which supports 3 young adults to participate in the year-long program, and as well the MoMA education, all of their access and education programs. So we hope you all enjoy the book and encourage you to visit the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center in Athens when you have a chance, if you have yet to do so. Thank you.
Sorry. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We at Melissa Publishing House are more than proud to present our new publication, Orthographs, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center by Yiorgis Yerolymbos and distributed by Yale in the US. This project involved different partners from different countries and presented a big challenge for us, and we hope the result is gratifying. First of all, we would like to express our gratitude to the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for their support and funding of this complicated project. Special thanks to the authors of the book, Renzo Piano, Robert and Catherine Storr, and Yiorgis Yerolymbos, to Sarah Meister for editing the picture, and Akis Ioannidis for designing the book. Lastly, we would like to thank MoMA for hosting tonight's event, and especially Christopher Hudson, that I know him for the last 15 years, and he assisted us in many ways, and Megan Gavin for organizing this night. But this project couldn't have been achieved without the continuous efforts of Yiorgis Yerolymbos, who deserves tonight's biggest applause. And as we say in Greece, this book should be kalotaxido and should sail in all of the world with a big success. Thank you very much, all.
And I'm John, the American publisher from Yale University, and actually last year I was in Athens and sped in front of the Niarchos Cultural Foundation in a taxi, and it was a sort of fitting way to experience the building from this busy street in its kind of nascent state, somewhere between realized and unfinished, partially open but not yet initiated. And having had that experience, I opened this book, Orthographs, with a unique appreciation. It was as if taking something still in process, a building site in transformation, and going backwards in time, as if taking an X-ray into an historical moment and stripping the exterior of a building and understanding how its skeleton had been constructed. Yiorgis Yerolymbos' photographs embody a narrative, a story in motion that knows both forward and backward direction, exhibiting the human story of infrastructure, a record of work both human and machine, and a pictorial log of a work in progress. And we come to appreciate the photographer's advantage, high up on exoskeletal cranes and platforms, to be our advantage. One can see the cultural center as a particularly Greek achievement in a moment of great economic and political upheaval. In building the cultural center, the Niarchos Foundation provided economic stimulus, prompted cultural ambition, and created a civic mission. And the structure is built within eyeshot of the Acropolis has a certain poetic justice. And speaking as a book publisher, I'm very pleased to distribute and be involved with the book. The Niarchos Center houses the Greek National Library, and libraries, of course, are friends, and we need friends. Most of book people carry on like fetishists. You can often hear book people gushing over that beautiful object of the book, that 700-year-old feat of perfect engineering. You might see us in raptures over the grain of paper and the pacing of illustrations, the choreography of typeface and design. We will bore you with our sensual, as I'm doing right now, with our sensual pleasure of the book, its smell and feel, the way in which a fine book ages. We'll study marginalia for its human record of our desire to enter a book, to literally work our way into or impress onto another's mind. In fact, what could be more human than a book? Well, maybe a building. We speak of bodies of books and buildings intimately. We name their parts, joints and hinges. We wince when someone bends a book backwards and sadistically and say, we're cracking the spine. And also the title, orthography, is defined in two ways: an architectural drawing in correct projection, and the art of writing words with proper letters, grammar, usage, and spelling. And so it's particularly pleasing to publish this book with its sympathetic eye to the work of infrastructure and development and how that applies to buildings and books, the true building blocks of civilization. So thank you.
I am here largely because of a friendship formed when I was here. When I was a curator at the museum, I got to know Andreas Drukopoulos, and we remained in contact, and we have remained collaborators and co-conspirators, and I don't know what else since. And I'm here because he asked me to get involved in doing some programs for the Yiorgis Foundation, and then to write an essay for this. Now, Clint Eastwood, who is one of my favorite thinkers, said a man has got to know his limitations. My limitations start with architecture and design. So what I did was ask my daughter, who is an architect, to consult with me about what we would write about this project. But let me say a few things about what I know about this project first, and then pass it over to her. I think that you really have to think about what an extraordinary accomplishment this building is, and what it represents in terms of an ambition for Greece, for international culture in Greece, for the exchange between Greece and other centers of culture. This is a monumental project. It's one of Renzo Piano's probably penultimate or nearly penultimate projects. I don't know how you work that back grammatically, but you know, it is one of his last great achievements, and it is an amazing building. Now, what it does is create a new center in Greece at the edge, between Athens, at the edge of the old city, at the borderline between central Athens and Piraeus. And it's a place where people can move into public parks, where they can participate in film, in dance, in drama, and then of course there's this library, which is a fantastic library. And I think that people should remember that for all the difficulties Greece has been having, that we have had also in this country, it is still possible to conceive of great things and to do great things. And I think it's very much to Andreas' credit and the credit of the foundation that under those circumstances they figured out a way to break the deadlocks between public and private financing. In our country we have problems on the public side, in there they have the problems on the private side, but simply to break that deadlock and to say, listen, this is important enough, it simply must happen, and we are going to figure out how to do it. And the foundation has done that, and this is a great, great contribution to Greek history and to Greek culture, to European history, to European culture, to world culture as well. Now, one thing about this, and I will pass it on to my daughter, is that it is primarily a vertical building happening under grade. And she'll explain what that means. But you have up and across, and it's an amazing way of using space in this particular urban center. Now, I, for one, hate being high. I have terrible vertigo, and these photographs spare me having ever to go up to where they were taken. But what they tell you is that the way in which Renzo conceived the space works in every possible dimension. And it works deep, and it works close, and it works from here, and it works from there. So this book is a document of a project. It's like, you know, triple-decker, quadruple-decker chess. This is the record of that chess game being played this way. And now I'll turn it over to Catherine, and she will say something.
Hi, everyone. It was a great pleasure to work on this book. I was very, very lucky to be able to visit the foundation and have a wonderful tour with Yiorgis, and it was a wonderful experience just to see how he conceived of the project. I wasn't able to go up in one of the cranes. I'm also like my dad, I don't love heights. I think they're kind of fun, but maybe that would have been too much. So I'm very impressed how you did it all the time, you know, every day going up there and just seeing from a bird's eye view, from a privileged view, what I as an architect spend a lot of time looking at as a drawing, and how you were amazingly able to make sort of an abstract, beautiful, fixed version of something that's so active, and you can see the movement in the photographs while they're able to capture something in time. It was wonderful working on it, so thank you to everyone who was working on the project with us.
Thank you.
Great.
And by saying this is a work of art.
Hi, hello. I first entered the world of photography in September '91. It was during that first year in photography school in Athens that I was asked by my tutors to make an essay about an exhibition called New Documents, curated by the great John Zakowski, curated here, presented here in MoMA. So 6 months in photography, I understood the importance of this institution that I find myself in today, and I can't even begin to describe how I feel. I'm in awe. Thank you so much for being here. We were extremely fortunate to present this book with my colleagues in the very building that generated it, in the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center in Athens 2 months ago. And during that presentation, one of the speakers, Philip Blackwell, literally captured the audience by saying, with his long experience in book market, how one would go about to search for this book in a bookshop. He would enter, he said, and say, I'm searching for a book on photography with a beautiful white cover, titled Graphic something, by a guy whose name, for the life of me, I can't pronounce, let alone remember. And this is true. These are facts. And whatever some people tend to think these days, you can't argue against facts. So, I will, as there are very few things I can do about my family name and nothing I can do about the cover, it's printed. I can at least explain what I do. What is it, Orthographs, and what did I do? Well, luckily for everybody, myself included, somebody far more intelligent, far more eloquent in English explained it for me. It was the great Robert Adams that said that photography can bring us 3 verities: geography, autobiography, and metaphor. What a photographer traditionally tries to do is to bring past, present, and future in one shot. Okay, let's put it to the test, shall we? I first entered the site being invited by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation in June 2007. I first entered the site on June 5th, so on Monday it's my 10-year anniversary. Nothing I saw at that first visit could warn me of today's outcome. It was an empty lot, a no man's land, everything was deserted. It was used as an illicit parking space and as a racetrack during night for youngsters. A no man's land, really. During the course of all these 10 years, I had the rare opportunity to be a privileged spectator of a closed environment due to security. Until one beautiful morning on a Tuesday, December 20, 2011, that we broke ground for the first time. And from that moment onward, the site became a construction site. And along with it, thousands of people poured in. On its heyday, we had 5,500 people, a village. I became friends with most of them. I met probably all of them. I was taught by them. I was helped every single time. Nobody really posed any problem or obstacle in what I do. Everybody was extremely friendly. And thousands of photographs have been produced of all sorts of purposes. More than 70,000 photographs, I imagine, were shot. Only 1/10 of those have been delivered due to the Foundation's high quality standards. But from all these thousands of photographs, a clear grouping of photographs stands out, and these are the photographs that were featured in this book. I'm talking about the plan shots from the cranes. The first moment I got up there, I was amazed. Everything became crystal clear. The photographer in me saw beautiful images, well organized and extremely of high artistic quality. And the architect within me finally understood. I got it. I saw where the entrances were, I saw the function, I saw the flows. So from that moment onwards, it was a continuous effort, brick by brick. A new element came and was added to everything that was there already in my mind. Light and volume and shadows, until the very last but not least, the human scale, in the presence of the workers, people who made this building with their hands. So at that moment, after many ascents in the tower cranes and me hovering over it, the central concept of that book was formed. It would be a book with plan shots of the construction site of Renzo Piano's architecture, the interim stages of his architecture, with photographs that would, ideally, and discreetly, if possible, balance between the two consistencies that they need to uphold. To be consistent with the world, which is the basis of art, of science, and be consistent with themselves, which is the basis of art. In short, it would be an attempt for photography to return to architecture the loan fully paid in the form of art, autonomous art forms. Right, okay, that's the description. And how would that be titled? As said before, I stole Leon Battista Alberti's title. When Alberti, even from the Renaissance, when he tried to describe the plans, the architectural plans, he said that the architectural plans can be seen as an extremely precise drawing of quantifiable, measurable data. Basically, in few words, a very accurate list of instructions given by the architect-conceptor to the laborer builder, thus liberating the architect from the building itself. Well, seeing the photographs taken from the tower cranes with the perspective, where perspective has been recorded with precision, where distortions have been avoided, at least to a large extent, and human scale has been accounted with consistency, I could not find a better title than to steal Alberti's, so Orthographs. When the building becomes successful, and it is already successful, another architecture theoretician, Robert Huet, said that the people who visit it will think that it was always there, in the form that they see it right in front of their eyes. They can't believe that it wasn't there some years ago. It is my hope that people who will visit the building, strollers, mothers and fathers with their kids, will, when seeing these photographs, will see the least necessary trace of the intermediate stages of this great landscape and the human effort behind it, before the dynamic of the final outcome deems them as part of memories. After all, photographs can bring us the spirit of the past, the daily news, and the anticipation of what is to come. Thank you so very much.